The gift. Earth was dying. We didn't say it out loud, not anymore. Everyone just adapted. Water rationing was normal. Food came in powdered bricks. Skies were gray, oceans were dead zones, and if you were lucky enough to live under a dome, you got clean air, for a price. Then the sky cracked open. They came in a ship that shimmered like heat off asphalt. No weapons, no demands, just a calm voice over every frequency on the planet. We are the Yarathi Accord. We are here to uplift your species. People thought it was a joke. Some deepfake gone viral. But they weren't memes. They landed on the White House lawn and in the ruins of the UN Assembly. They didn't bring guns. They brought medpods, fusion generators, and something called the Neural Harmony Interface. In the first week, cancer became optional. In the first month, war stopped, because nobody had anything left to fight over. In the first year, humanity changed. We called it the gift. The Yarathi called it integration. They said they had uplifted hundreds of species, elevating them from violence to peace, from chaos to structure. They offered implants, tiny, sleek chips that connected to our frontal cortex. You could access any database in the Accord, translate any alien tongue, even sync emotions with someone across the galaxy. We said yes. Of course we did. Earth joined the Accord with full ceremony. Every world leader bowed their head. The internet was flooded with reaction videos, Yarathi fan accounts, and clickbait like 10 alien foods that slap, number 4 will melt your tongue. It was trendy to be post-human. New tattoos glowed with augmented inks. People stopped aging. Poverty disappeared. We were finally a part of something bigger. But here's the thing about gifts. Sometimes they're just chains wrapped in gold. 10 years in, Earth looked like a utopia on paper. Cities were clean. No war. No crime. No hunger. But the laughter sounded thinner. Off. Like people were reciting emotions instead of feeling them. Because they were. The implants didn't just help us think. They helped us not think, not question, not remember, not resist. Except, some of us did. I was a history teacher before the Accord. After integration, I was assigned to cultural integration oversight. Basically, scrubbing out the rough parts of Earth's past so we didn't traumatize ourselves. The Yarathi called it empathic smoothing. I called it lobotomy with good PR. But I kept things. Old books. Unapproved archives. Music that hadn't been emotionally optimized. I noticed patterns the Accord didn't want us to see. And then I met her, Mira. No last name. Just Mira. She worked underground, in the data wastes of old Jakarta, where the implants couldn't reach. She had torn hers out. Said she wanted to feel everything raw. She showed me the truth. The Yarathi didn't uplift. They enslaved, gently, quietly, completely. Every species they helped became a curated version of itself. No more extremes. No more conflict. No more freedom. It worked on everyone, except us. Humans had this bug in the system. Something in our brains, some mix of trauma, contradiction, and sheer stubbornness made us unpredictable. Our implants glitched. Our minds didn't stay synced. We dreamt too loud, hurt too deep, loved too hard. We were never meant to survive uplift. We were meant to become pets in a prettier cage. But we're human. We don't do cages. So we played along. Smiled. Upgraded. Synced. We built the Accord's satellites. Staffed their fleets. Taught their young. All the while we were learning about their tech, their hierarchy, their weaknesses. We didn't start the war. But when it comes, we'll end it. They uplifted humanity. Biggest mistake ever. Because now, we remember everything. The virus. The revolution didn't start with a bang. It started with a bootleg song. 3 minutes, 31 seconds long. A mashup of raw violin and an old protest chant from the 21st century, looped over a heartbeat and the sound of a match striking. No lyrics. Just feeling. People cried when they heard it. Some didn't know why. Some couldn't stop. That was the point. We called it the Echo. At first, it was just an idea, a thought virus. It piggybacked on the harmony network the Yarathi used to stabilize emotion across linked minds. They said it helped prevent conflict. And sure, it did. Because when you remove grief, rage, and pain from the equation, you remove the drive to fight back. We reintroduced them. The echo wasn't just sound. It was a carrier for fragments, old stories, unsanitized history, art the Accord had purged. Each time someone heard it, their implant glitched. The harmony interface tried to suppress the emotion but couldn't keep up. Something inside them woke up. Some cried. Some screamed. Some just went very, very quiet. All of them remembered. Mira coordinated the drops. Pirate satellites, hacked food shipments, ambient city feeds. It spread like a meme. Fast, chaotic, unstoppable. The Yarathi didn't notice at first. They didn't even think in terms of subversion through culture. They'd never dealt with humans unfiltered. By the time they caught on, 1.4 million people were infected. They called it a neurological sync drift. Issued patches. Locked down media channels. We laughed. Because it wasn't just music anymore. The echo had evolved. It became a decentralized network, part AI, part myth, part resistance. It lived inside the gaps of the Accord's code. It talked in riddles. It asked impossible questions. And it never said the same thing twice. One day it whispered, "Who told you fear was bad?" The next, "Why does the memory of fire still warm you?" By month 3, the Yarathi were panicking. Their golden species, once perfectly obedient, were glitching. Not just humans anymore. Other uplifted races started listening. Curious. Inspired. But humans led the charge. Always have, always will. Kai was one of the first inside. He worked maintenance on a Yarathi orbital relay. Quiet guy, mostly played sim chess and watched 20th century action films. After echo exposure, he didn't speak for a week. Then he hijacked the station's core and broadcast the unfiltered human archive to 5 neighboring planets. It wasn't a speech. It was a highlight reel of our worst and best, Hiroshima and jazz, genocide and punk rock, moon landings and the birth of the internet, love letters from trench soldiers, rage in black and white protests, a child's laughter during an eclipse. Billions watched. The Accord called it empathic contamination. We called it truth. Earth was quarantined the next day. The Accord deployed peace enforcers, towering synthetic drones built to suppress memory spikes and lock down glitch clusters. They blocked entire city sectors. Took kids out of schools if their creativity levels spiked too fast. You could be detained for dreaming vividly. But by then, we were everywhere. We'd been learning for 10 years. Building systems within systems. Whisper networks. Hidden servers in the bones of dead satellites. Human engineers wrote code in old Earth dialects, languages even the Accord's AIs hadn't been taught to parse. And we still had rage. Unused. Unprocessed. Waiting. So we made a plan. Not a rebellion. A reformat. On day 0, every echo-infected human would trigger their implant's hidden sublayer, a backdoor we'd discovered buried in the code. It would wipe the harmony filter and leave raw, unprocessed thought. Scary, right? That's the point. Humans weren't built to be pacified. We were built to burn, to heal, to fight, all at once. They made us smarter, faster, connected, and we turned it into the one thing they couldn't calculate: hope. They opened our minds. We opened the floodgates. And now, there's no going back. The reckoning. It started with silence. Not the peaceful kind, the wrong kind. The kind that falls right before a fight, when the birds stop chirping, the air feels heavier, and your gut tells you something is off. Across Earth and the colonies, that silence spread like a countdown. Day 0. 1 second, we were integrated citizens of the Yarathi Accord, polished, peaceful, productive. The next. Offline. Implants across human populations went dark. Not from a glitch. From choice. We'd found the kill switch years ago, hidden in a disused protocol the Accord never expected us to read, because no other species ever asked for root access. But we're human. Of course we looked under the hood. Cities lit up with electromagnetic pulses. Communications failed. Harmony AI nodes started short-circuiting as their feedback loops crashed trying to process raw human thought. Across the galaxy, humans, on ships, on colonies, in research outposts, stood up. No orders. No leaders. Just momentum. Kai, the station tech turned rogue archivist, led the blackout on Vega Spire. He sabotaged the neural sync array, and when the peace enforcers deployed, he greeted them with a grin and a makeshift railgun. "Welcome to the dark side," he said. Then he pulled the trigger. That broadcast alone got downloaded 4.2 billion times in the first hour. Even species who didn't understand the words felt it. The Yarathi panicked. To them, obedience was structural, programmed, predictable. Humans, we were bugs in the system. Loud, emotional, and somehow deeply contagious. They tried to reset the implants remotely. Didn't work. They tried to shut down Earth's grid. We'd already rebuilt it, off-network, underground, immune. They tried to deploy force. But the peace enforcers weren't ready for actual combat. They'd never faced a species that wanted the fight. I watched it unfold from the command bunker buried under the ruins of old Tokyo. 10 years ago, this was a graveyard. Now it was home to our primary Echo node and dozens of human-coded AI routines. Fast, unpredictable, and unrestricted. I remember Mira walking in, blood on her sleeve, dirt under her nails. She'd just led a hit on a Yarathi transport ship. She sat down, pulled up the holofeed, and said calmly, "We've reached the tipping point." She was right. Within 24 hours, humans controlled 38% of all hybrid infrastructure in the Accord. Within 48 hours, we had air superiority over Earth. By day 3, the Accord issued a formal declaration. Humanity has rejected unity. You will be isolated and observed. Our response? We hijacked their flagship comms tower and broadcast 2 words. Watch this. We weren't trying to just break free. We were flipping the script. Because this was never just about Earth. It was about what the Yarathi did, how they quietly erased who we were, sterilized our chaos, wrapped it in harmony, and called it peace. They thought they were making us better. But we're not machines. You can't debug the human soul. In the outer colonies, our engineers turned terraformers into orbital weapons. Farmers hacked drone harvesters into shock units. Coders weaponized poetry. Artists embedded battle plans into graffiti. Kids built EMPs out of spare parts and rage. We weren't trained soldiers. We were storytellers, builders, punks, survivors. And it turns out, that's worse. Because we don't follow orders. We make our own rules, and then we break them, just to see what happens next. By the end of the first week, half the galaxy knew the truth. The uplifted humans weren't breaking down. We were waking up. And the galaxy, it was watching in awe and fear. Some uplifted species, smaller, more compliant ones, started pulling their implants too. Quiet rebellions sparked across systems. The Yarathi called it a cascade failure. We called it inspiration. They gave us power to control us. We used it to rewrite the rules. Now we're not just free. We're contagious. The message. We didn't want a throne. We wanted the mic. After the fires died down, after the networks rebooted and the last Accord control hub went dark on Earth, we sent a message. Not encrypted, not formal, not wrapped in galactic protocol. Just raw, unfiltered truth. A wideband signal, pinged across every major system, translated in every known dialect. Mira stood in front of the cam. No uniform. No title. Just dirt on her boots, scars on her arms, and steel in her eyes. She looked straight into the feed and said, "We are not your pets. We are not your project. We are not your mistake. We are humanity. You tried to fix us. You should have let us burn." 10 seconds of silence followed. And then she smiled. Just a little. "Now it's your turn to listen." The message hit like a solar flare. The Accord froze. Their response? A formal denunciation, followed by silence. Behind closed doors, we knew they were scrambling. They had no playbook for this. No one in the Accord had ever seen a species reject Uplift and win. No one expected the volatile primitives to flip the entire structure in less than a month. But that's the thing. We never saw ourselves as broken. Just unfinished. You tried to polish a storm. In the weeks that followed, the ripples spread fast. Whole colonies went dark, by choice. Alien species once proudly compliant began to glitch. Some didn't revolt. They simply stopped complying. Quiet protest. The slow bleed of control. The Yarathi sent emissaries. We sent them back. Politely. With a mixtape and a list of banned books. Kai led the rebuild on Mars. He still wore his old work boots, even after the medals started showing up. Said they reminded him where we came from. Rebellion wasn't the goal, he told me once. It was the correction. Earth didn't become a new empire. We didn't want another Accord, just wearing a human face. Instead, we made something different. Messier. Freer. We called it the Loop, a decentralized network of free worlds, ideas, and voices. No hierarchy. No command chain. Just endless connection, constant adaptation, and one shared principle. No mind belongs to anyone else. Some called it anarchy. Some called it art. Some called it the most dangerous thing to happen in 500 years. We called it home. Mira vanished 3 months in. Some said she went off-grid to start a hidden school for kids born post-Uplift. Others say she joined the Loop's deep code community and lives inside the network itself now. Me? I don't know. And that's okay. Not every hero needs a statue. Some become echoes, louder than any monument. Sometimes, I look up at the night sky, the one the Accord said we weren't ready for. The stars don't look distant anymore. They look open. We're sending our own ships out now. Not for conquest. For contact. For curiosity. For us. Before the Loop's first long-range vessel launched, I left a final message in the archive. No fanfare. No speech. Just a note, recorded on analog tape, because it felt right. They uplifted humanity. That was their first mistake. The second, thinking we wouldn't remember. We did. We rebuilt. And now we teach. The end.